For your listening pleasure, here's Polizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Hello, my friends. This is Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 365 of This Old Marketing for Friday, March 3rd, 2023. And with me, as always, my pal, my colleague, and back from vacation, a guy who's made only slightly more money than Cocaine Bear did this weekend, Mr. Joe Polizzi.
Were you first in line to see Cocaine Bear?
I was not first in line. I have not seen the movie
I don't
yet,
think
but
that you'll see. You don't seem like the kind of person that would watch Cocaine Bear.
Here's the thing. I am the kind of person who would watch Cocaine Bear, but I'm not going to the theater for it. I'm waiting for that bad boy to come to streaming. I love the. I mean, it looks awesome.
It does not look
horrible
awesome.
Ways.
It looks.
Yes, it does.
Oh, I don't
it really
think,
does.
I think you'd have to be in a certain frame of mind or frame of being to sit through Cocaine Bear. But at least you know what you're getting.
Are you suggesting that I might have to alter my mental state?
There might be edibles involved. Not that I'm promoting that,
go.
but I could see that happen. It's almost like what does Seth Rogen came out with? This is the end. Like,
yeah, which I did see as well.
And you knew what kind of movie you were getting into with that one. I think if you know what you're getting into,
well, yeah, that's the whole point.
I know.
Which is why it's such a great movie for streaming, because you're in your home, you're safe on the couch. It might be after an edible or two, or it might be after a couple of good tequila shots. It's the perfect like Friday evening stupid movie. I mean, and by the way, it did very well it did much better than expected over the weekend.
I had no
idea. The box office.
Did it do better than Quantumanium from Ant-Man or whatever?
It did actually. It did.
No,
it absolutely did. I'm relatively speaking, Quantumania, the Ant-Man movie, has fallen off a cliff, apparently, and Cocaine Bear did much better than expected. Now, and I think that's in a relative term. I'm not sure, because there will be the number of theaters, too, that it was released in. I can actually do the research in real time here if we want to look at it. But
anyway, we went. Yeah. I was interested to hear about the Ant-Man thing because we actually went to see the movie a couple days ago on Super Tuesdays, Discount Tuesdays for AMC, which we absolutely love. And there was nobody in the theater. Absolutely, and usually on Tuesdays, because it's $5 Tuesday, you get everybody to come out to a movie. Nobody was there, and I really do believe that with the Marvel set, and I don't know what your take is, but the Marvel set of movies right now, you can do anything, and because of the multiverse, anything is possible. So you're like, what is going? There's so many things going on, and just the weirdest stuff in these movies, because there's no constriction on the plot at all. It's like, oh, we could just do that. We can bring that in. We can do that. I don't know what your take is, but that's where I think Marvel movies are going to struggle right now for a while.
Oh, 100%. I think the whole, there are people in both of our social media feeds who are like fanatics about this and know the Marvel universe and the whole thing much better than we do. But my understanding is this whole move to the Phase 5 or whatever it is, sort of the moving out of the Avengers centered idea and moving into the what they call Phase 5 has been bumpy at best. And they have not, they've opened it too wide in my opinion. And they don't have an anchor, right? Where what they had with Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. And Tony Stark was an anchor, right? They could anchor everything in that and create the Avengers and create the whole series and had a great big wonderful arc. Here there is you don't feel like there's any anchor. And I know they're trying to do some of that with Spider-Man and they're trying to do some of it with Ant-Man here and all of that, but it just doesn't, it feels a little rudderless at the moment. Like and there's too much of it, right? There's. I think you've got a lot of people who are suffering from this. Is the same complaint I hear now about the Star Wars franchises, is that there's just too much. I don't think that's true, by the way, on the Star Wars thing. It's been quite easy to keep up with the Star Wars stuff. Although I will tell you, I watched the first episode of Mandalorian and was kind of disappointed.
Oh, did you? I was going to wait and watch it with my son, and
I'm giving it. Yeah, I'm giving it a shot. I'm going to give it a shot and see where it turns out and say, okay. But yeah, it did not bode well. Let's put it that way.
I'm going to have to. But again, Andor was the same way.
That's
the first
true.
three were not
exactly
good,
right.
and that turned out really well, as you.
Yes,
told me
exactly
it would.
right. Which is why I'm giving it a shot. It's like, all right, I give you that one, right? It was. I mean, I'm not giving anything away. No spoilers here or anything. But there's a lot of Grogu peeking around a corner, and isn't he cute? And isn't it? There's a lot of that. There's just a lot of that.
It's
so
it's just like jumping the shark a little bit.
Little bit. Well, but again, I'm giving it time.
Well, before we get too far in, I wanted to send a thanks out to Paul Raitzer for covering for me. Great show, both of you. I mean, obviously, the man knows everything there is to know about marketing and AI. So he was the proper person, and you had a really good conversation around that. It was fun. And the good thing is when you find out that you're not necessary, I don't really know how to feel.
No. Here's the thing. That's isn't it sort of that there's that classic. Isn't it the CEO's dream to have an organization that operates well when he or she is not there?
That's correct.
Right. Okay. So
if you don't have an ego, that's exactly the way to do it.
Yeah. This is the way.
No, but we had a lot of comments on social and people saying it was such a great episode. And there were one or two comments that said they missed me. So thank you for those two people.
Well, I missed you.
I know you did.
I missed you. I missed you.
It was strange. It was strange not, whatever. And by the way, you and I talked about this before the show. 365 episodes seems significant. It seems like it is.
It does.
Level.
You could listen to our podcast every day for a year, and you would run the series. That's
oh my goodness. Yeah. And it just takes me back to 2013. We've been doing this for 10 years, and now we have a full year of episodes. And what do we have to show for it?
Isn't this where we can go into syndication? Isn't this where the big money's supposed to come, where we can go into syndication?
We're going to be like Cheers or Family Ties or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Have it run on TBS or something?
ER, Friends. What other shows can we throw out that got to that level? But what is that? For television, it was always 100 episodes, right?
5 years. Well, it's 5 years or 100 episodes. Yeah, basically. Yeah, because you have 20. This is bringing back my old TV days. You had 20. You would have 23 episodes usually, or 22 episodes in a series season, and then so roughly 5 years. Right, it's in your fifth year that you would hit 100 episodes, and that was when you could launch into syndication, and that was the big money. I mean, when you hit syndication, boo! You get paid all over again as an actor, as a writer. Director on the show, you get paid all over again, and it's like free money. It's just free money.
But I got to tell you, it was strange because so it's Thursday, and I was on, and I didn't tell anybody beforehand, but we took a cruise. My wife and I and a couple friends of ours, we took a cruise. We went to Georgetown in the Cayman Islands. We went to Jamaica, Ocho Rios, and we went to Nassau in the Bahamas. And on Thursday, which I think was an at-sea day, if I can remember, but the drinks were making me a little bit fuzzy, I had my phone on me, and I got the notification, record PNR, because at 11 o'clock Eastern time every Thursday, I keep that on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it was just weird. It was weird not recording, and instead I had to lay out in the sun by the pool drinking.
Yeah, it was rough.
Drinking a fluffy, flowery, fruity drink of some nature.
Yeah, of some kind.
Many of those, actually. It was funny. We we cruised on Holland America, which is generally for older people, as you will. But we had the drink package, but they have a limit on the drink package of 15 drinks a day. And we did actually eclipse that on a couple of days. Yes, it's very...
You hit your limit.
No, that's a lot. If you get a Coca-Cola or you get a specialty coffee, that includes as well. So I don't want people to think that this is all alcoholic drinks, but it probably
that you have a problem.
Probably
don't want anybody to think you have a problem.
No, there's no problem here. There was no problem.
I see.
The bartenders didn't have any problem coming over. The drink delivery was just fine. Oh my God. But I do want to say, you and I talked about it beforehand. I'm not going to talk about the whole cruise thing, but one of those.
Oh yes, the book.
Well, before I want to get to the book real quick, but the bucket list item that I would have everybody put on their list is Dunn's River Falls in Ocho Rios. That was an amazing. Okay. We basically climbed. I don't know what the real Wikipedia says 600 feet. The people in Jamaica said it was 970 feet. It was a lot that we went from the bottom and we climbed up through the falls. And there were literally hundreds of people at the same time doing this. It was kind of crazy. But we all held hands. And we had a group of about 30 people, and we went all the way up the falls, and it was one of those things where you really did feel like you accomplished something of significance. So if you ever get a chance, do Dunn's River Falls.
I will look into that. That sounds fantastic.
Jamaica. Oh, so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah.
And then thank you for, a lot of people don't know this, so next week is the big launch week for Epic Content Marketing 2nd edition. So
that's right.
I'm just going to plead with everyone listening to this. And by the way, a lot of people listening to this are on our launch team and helping us out and posting it and great. But if you can, go out and buy a print copy, ebook, audiobooks. They're all available. I can't believe it. Audible moved really quickly this time. They approved it in 4 days. So much different than during COVID when it took 8 weeks to approve our audiobook the last time. But so if you can go out, support that would be great. We're really proud of the new book, but I'm also proud because not only is, Brian Piper is my co-author on this one, but Robert Rose has a wonderful, amazing chapter on the case for content marketing. So I got it real quickly.
You were just looking for word count. That's really all you needed.
But but no, I was getting ready to put that chapter together, and I literally said, it's stupid for me to write this chapter because you are the expert on the case for content marketing. And I asked you to do it, and you did it, and you read it for the audiobook too. So you are in this book. People that want to support this book are supporting both of us, even though you don't get any revenues from this.
I was just going to say, let's be clear. They're supporting you. Yeah, they may be. let's just be perfectly clear.
But it is. It's a big show of support. It's like clapping hands. You don't receive dollar bills, but it's it's the praise. Rightfully so. So anyways, thanks for everyone's support. It's going really well so far. We're trying to hit some numbers on Amazon's chart and all that funny stuff you do when you market a book. But we're having a good time with it. So
awesome. All right. Well, let's get to a show.
Do it.
It's been a hot minute since we did a show together. So let's look at this. We do have a fun show. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that happened while you were gone, but that we didn't get a chance to talk about, including the fact that Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, has now introduced a new verified blue check mark, and we'll talk a little bit about what that might mean and how they're doing it. We'll talk a little bit about Substack and how it has sort of become the new du jour way to do things. They have now topped 2 million paid subscribers. Amazing numbers there. And then we'll talk a little bit about Bing and how it has now really lobotomized the wonderful Sydney and its AI integration after some really interesting interactions that it's had. Then we're going to bring back just for this episode, yes, that segment that you love, you want, you need, the Musky Scent. We'll talk a little bit about Twitter because there is some news there about how it may be breaking down a little bit as they continue to cut staff. And also, Jack Dorsey's new Twitter has now hit the App Store. So talk a little bit about social media this episode. And we'll finish up with talking about time may be ticking away for TikTok. The government's now starting to ban it in much greater propensity, so we'll talk about that too. I will then rave a little bit about the fact that the FTC is now looking at artificial intelligence as a marketing term and see what that means. And then Joe will talk a little bit about branded newsletters and rave, of course. I'm sure you'll all be shocked that he's going to rave about email once again.
People are probably sick of, oh, there's Joe again talking about email. I can't get enough of it.
He likes email.
It's been 20 years.
He likes email.
Yeah.
He likes email. You even did it on your LinkedIn post while you were away. You were talking about email. So that.
By the way, yeah, and I scheduled those posts. Don't think that I was actually, doing work on vacation.
Exactly.
Didn't happen, folks.
Fantastic.
So, there you go. All right, let's do this.
All right. Well, let's get to it. We're going to start with the fact that Meta, Facebook, has now offered verified. Now, there are a ton of outlets actually covering this and sort of their analysis of it. But we're going to link to in the show notes the actual release of it. So it's on the about.meta.com site. And it says, introducing Meta Verified, a subscription bundle, as it were, to help you establish and grow your presence on Instagram and Facebook. Check availability on Instagram and Facebook to grow your presence there. And what does it give you? It gives you verification. Help your community know it's the real you with a verified badge, which uses a verification process, government ID, to securely establish your account's authenticity. You get exclusive features, Facebook and Instagram stories, Facebook Reels, and 100 stars a month on Facebook so you can show your support for other creators. We'll talk about that. Increased visibility. You get basically a little bit of bump in the algorithm to get more visibility for your organic posts. Proactive account protection. You get actually protection from impersonation with proactive account monitoring and securing your account with required two-factor authentication. And then, of course, you actually get customer support. You get a direct account support when you need it from a real person, et cetera, et cetera. So what think you of the Meta verification? This seems like they looked at what Twitter did and went, we can do one slightly better than that. Let's see what we can do. What do you think?
Well, first of all, it does seem like what this program, Twitter should just copy this and do it. It's really, really close to what I think is the right
Twitter
thing to do.
should have.
I went and joined the wait list
from the very beginning.
Yeah,
this is not genius level product development.
No, it's fine. I mean, first of all, Meta, Facebook, they're doing what they normally do really well, is copy other people. They're taking what's already out there, some kind of a verification system, subscription system, and they're putting a package together. Now, the one that's out there right now, as everybody probably knows, is only available in New Zealand and Australia. I did join the wait list because I wanted to kind of see how that would work. So I am on the wait list. Now, I want this.
Are you already verified on Facebook? Do you have the little blue
I don't have the blue check mark on Facebook, and this is a real issue for me personally because I've got 3 or 4 Joe Pulizzi accounts out there that are faking to be me, and it's been really frustrating. And I've already gone 2 weeks ago. I went through the process again, the second time, to show my government ID to Instagram so that they would, help me boot these other ones off and say I'm the Joe Pulizzi and not these other ones. But it's getting really crazy. Actually, I just, if Michael Stelzner's listening for Social Media Examiner, I just ran into a very good fake account from him that followed me. Already has 1,100 followers, and everything looks like Michael, and there's just one letter that's different. So from this standpoint, I like it. I like the subscription program. I think the pricing is $11 to $14 a month or something like that.
That's correct. But
from a creator standpoint, I also want the visibility. If I'm really saying that Instagram is going to be one of my social media channels that I'm going to focus on, I will absolutely pay for visibility. You and I talked about it with LinkedIn a couple shows ago, that if Premiere came with increased visibility, which I don't really think it does, but I would absolutely spend that money every month to get that visibility. So I don't know. What do you think about the?
Well, here's the funny thing is, literally only because I work in this business, I would subscribe to it. I don't use Instagram or Facebook for anything professional. And so the only thing I arguably should, I mean, literally, it's so funny that we're talking about this because just this morning I was scrolling through Instagram and seeing so many people that we know, including Michael and our friend Andy Crestadina and so many of our friends and colleagues doing business stuff on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, okay. I wonder if I should be doing that. And then I was like, no. I'm pretty happy making Facebook and Instagram, pictures of cocktails and my vacations and my hikes and pictures of my breakfast and, all that kind of stuff and using it for friends and family. So the verified checkmark, while probably good and safe for me, there's little risk, right? I'm not mitigating that much risk with that like you are. Like you use it for professional reasons. And so I think that's probably a good thing. So the verification part of this, 100%, this is the way they should all work.
I think this is the way that everyone. Well, I don't want to cut you off.
I think this is the way that accounts should work.
Yes,
I think personally, I think this is the way that you should get a Facebook account. Is that you have to provide some level of proof of identity to be on it. This would solve so much of what right now is such the big problem with social media, which is the anonymity and hate speech and all that stuff. If you actually had to stand behind your own words with a authenticated account, I think it would reduce that quite a bit.
But don't you think it's great? This is a bigger issue, and I know we're going to talk about this with the next one as well. But isn't this a move that social media in the next 5 years, or maybe sooner than that, moves away from being free at all, and it just becomes a paid service where you are verified and you do pay something every month if you want to be a part of it?
I think it should be that. Yeah, I think that's. Look, the unfortunate thing is, I was just having this conversation last week with a colleague. The unfortunate thing is, I think the horse may have left the barn on this already. In other words, if we had started social media, if we had started in Facebook or Twitter, in the early days, and the process was you write a post, you put up a photograph, you put up a picture of your breakfast, you do whatever it is you're going to do, but that post doesn't appear for 30 minutes. Or an hour, because everything has to go through a review process, and algorithmic or human or both. And so we didn't get that instant gratification. I think much of what we're dealing, but this is hindsight, right? Hindsight always being 2020. I think we would have avoided many of the challenges that we have today with regard to some of the awfulness that is social media. Now, the same thing goes for accounts. Can you retroactively make people go in and re-identify themselves, much the way you have to do when you're signing up for a crypto account, or you're signing up for anything that really requires you to prove that you're you? And there are many ways to do that, by the way, other than simply government IDs or driver's licenses or those sorts of things. So that said, I don't know that I definitely see it as an evolution, but I'm not sure it's going to get there without a complete new platform. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But it's fascinating to me that they're doing this. I think the verification part of this is way overdue. It probably shouldn't cost money, but great that they're doing it. The extra visibility, well, whatever. I mean, I don't care about that, right? But you might as a professional on these platforms. And then the rest of it is just fluff, right? Because that the rest, having access to customer service or two-factor authentication, that should be free anyway. That's just ridiculous. That's just silliness that you're paying for two-factor or authentication. But I think it's a good thing. I'm glad that they're doing it. I'm very glad that.
You can tell that they're targeting creators because you scroll down the Meta page and the last thing is Meta for creators. Why you should get that? It's the only audience they're targeting on this whole page are creators, because they're the ones that are going to buy it. They're the ones that are getting faked. Their accounts are getting faked, and they're the ones that want increased visibility. So if that's the case, because nobody's going to target my mom and be my mom on Facebook with nothing against mom's Facebook page, but she's got like 50 friends, which is fine. It's great. She doesn't care about any of this stuff. But but there are people that do, and there are. So let's just say of the billion people that use Meta, you could have 50 to 100 million easy that could fall into this category. Of course. Think of the new revenue stream too.
Oh, I think I was listening to Prof G and he calculated this. I think it was something like $2 billion a year, right, of extra revenue just from this.
I've never been a fan of Meta stock, but I really believe it's undervalued right now because they took such a hit, and they just needed to get away from the whole, Web3 thing for a while and get back to their core business.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's. I'm glad they're doing it. There's no question that this is as much a marketing and PR move as it is a new product move. It's also meant to take advantage of the fact that Twitter is floundering right now with this. Twitter we'll get to this when we get to our Musky Scent segment, but Twitter just fired the product manager who was in charge of Twitter Blue. So, they're bumping around in the dark right now, and so Meta's taking. Well,
and we'll also talk about to jump to the end here, but the fact that they have so many lobbyists on the Hill right now making sure that TikTok gets banned. I mean, Apple and Microsoft and Facebook are all there in droves saying get rid of these people. So we'll talk about that later. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. Let's move on to our next story here. Our next story is a nice segue here. It comes from there's a couple of sources here. The first source that we can't link to really in the show notes, but we'll just talk about it because it is an exclusive, as it were. It comes from Axios, where they actually showed that Substack has now passed the 2 million mark in terms of paid subscribers. Bad on you, Substack, bad on you, Axios, for not having a link to that so that we can actually link to it. But here we go with an interesting article that comes from Substack.com itself, which is a new economic engine for culture. It's sort of a position article on thinking what comes after social media as we know it. And it does mention the fact that Substack has now passed the 2 million mark here. And it opens up by saying, we've always tried to believe that the internet's powers for good could be realized if they were tied to a business model that produces better incentives than the dominant online media platforms currently offer. When we started this company 5 years ago, we thought that the world might look a little different if readers and writers, rather than companies, wanted to sell them stuff, were the customers. And we believe that interesting things could happen if writers were rewarded for building trust. Then they go on to talk about this and basically talk about the fact that they have now got to the 2 million point. But they basically said, and I've started to really notice this anecdotally in my feed, whenever anybody's recommending a place to center your work these days, whether you want to start a personal blog or a newsletter or whatever, everybody's like, oh, Substack, start a Substack. Substack is now becoming sort of the WordPress, if you will, of how to create audiences these days if you're any sort of influencer or creator at all. So what do you think about this? Is this becoming this new idea of building your own community? Is that sort of replacing the idea of social media? And where does that fall in sort of the stack rate, I guess, if you will, forgive the pun, in what we're doing as creators?
Well, I think you've mentioned this a few times when you talk about the trust barometer. There is an opportunity for individuals in all niches to become trusted experts. And the best way to do that is through writing. And so where is that writing going to be held up at the highest standard? It seems to be, to your point, that Substack is one of they've got some great, amazing writers on this platform. At first, I wasn't a big fan because I was thinking, okay, this is just another rented land social media platform. Substack has all the data, which they do. But if you are not happy with Substack, can you port your email database out? Yes. Now, if I had my druthers, would I rather build an email newsletter somewhere else and then build the monetization platform around it myself so that I control more of those things? Yes, but a lot of lot of people don't want to do. A lot of writers don't want to do that. So Substack has created the all-in-one model to make that happen very easily. I can set it up. They will even, depending on who I am, promote it a little bit, although that's dicey if you're a new creator. But I think they built, obviously with 20 million monthly active subscribers and 2 million paid subs now, which is a significant thing. They've done some good work here. But you got Beehive out there that just launched with their email platform. You've got a lot of other amazing email platforms. ConvertKit, something that we use for the Tilt. But from an ease of use standpoint and with the benefits, and I don't know, the take is 10%, I think is what Substack takes. It's almost a no-brainer for thought leaders and writers that don't want to do a lot of work and still want to build a community. So
that's right.
I can't fault the business model. And we just talked about the fact that a lot of this is going to subscription. And this is a 100% subscription model. You either sign up for a free subscription or a paid subscription to your super fans. And they got the whole model there. It's like, what is the percentage? The 2% or 3% that you can get from a free subscriber into a paid subscriber. You set your amount of money, and you have now writers that don't have to make money with their books. They don't have to make money with their speaking events. They can make money directly through this community that they're building on Substack.
Yeah, that's right. It's Kevin Kelly's 1,000 fans, right? I mean, it is. You can be a little bit famous. You can be a little, and build in a small audience that is willing to pay a small amount and get enough of those where you can build a business on it, build a small business on it, or a big business on it. Quite honestly, and I think it's right there. It will be interesting to see if scale lasts, right? I think you're right with all of the new, with the new sort of entrants into the marketplace that are trying to take, there's Klaviyo now, and like you said, Beehive, and there's a number of them that are sort of offering these kinds of services, which is arguably something that Medium should have done a long time ago. Medium could have taken this whole thing, right, with which brings us back to Twitter, of course, but Medium could have taken this whole pie if it had just not focused in on being rented land, as much rented land as it is. And I think Substack did a really smart thing by making it a service rather than making it a social media platform. And it's arguably a little bit of both, because they do have the algorithm that floats up stuff to the top, so you can actually go a content discovery system, as it were. But really, it's more, I'm sure the bulk of what it really creates value in is, letting entrepreneurs, letting writers be entrepreneurs, and that's it's a very smart move, and we'll see if anybody can take them now. I could very easily see Substack becoming the new WordPress, right?
I think that's a good analogy. Are you subscribed to Bankless? Do you ever read a Bankless?
I don't subscribe to it, but I have listened to it.
It's just interesting. Yeah. So Bankless, which is a media company in the crypto space, they're doing events. They do daily email newsletters through Substack, if you will. And it's almost like they're working on the business in so many other ways. They just said, okay, well, this one we don't have to do. We don't have to get IT. We don't have to get all these integrations going. We could say, look, we're going to do Substack for this. It's a big part of our business model, and we can really focus our time and energy on the content itself and then other revenue generators. And I don't think that's a bad way to go. So
no, I think it's really smart. I think, a lot of times these technologies get dinged because they're quote unquote not enterprise, right? So you feel like at some point, if you're a small business, you're going to quote unquote grow out of it. That WordPress suffers from the same thing, right? And in many ways, when you start getting multiple authors, complex workflows, all those kinds of things, some of those solutions do break down. But there's also something very much to be said, like, well, why don't you just keep it simple, right? Just, don't get into complex workflows. Don't get into complex, models here. Just keep it really simple. And I think that's in many ways what a lot of these new startups are doing. They're purposely making it a bit of an island where it is just going to be kept really simple, because It's just a core piece of the business. It's really easy. It's not broken. So don't break it.
The only thing that I would say is, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, but if LinkedIn focused a little bit more on this, they could take this business because they've already,
of course they could.
The promotion is already there. And you and I have both seen benefits in a very short period of time from LinkedIn because of the fact that you can generate subscribers fairly quickly if you have a network.
Gosh. Yep.
And it's harder to, if I move over to Substack, if I move my random newsletter over to Substack from LinkedIn or from my email, it's going to take me much longer to build that. Now, if LinkedIn added the subscription component and the paid component, done and done, in my opinion. But
yeah, but the problem with that is that once again, that horse has left the barn, right? Which is LinkedIn can't do that now because of privacy issues, right? Because they've made it so easy to sign up and put in all your data because it's quote unquote going to be secured and not going to go anywhere. The problem is that if you could go into LinkedIn, create a newsletter, and then pull all those subscribers in and then just, scrape them out and then basically leave LinkedIn and go somewhere else, then you've sort of botched that whole thing, right? And so they at this point they can't offer what a Substack can offer from a because they're so integrated into everything. It's sort of it's a bit of a double-sided sword, right? You sort of integrate as smoothly and beautifully as LinkedIn does, which is I can create a newsletter that goes out to all of the people who have followed me and all of the people who are connected with me and hits their inbox if they hit subscribe. So it does both. It appears in their feed and in their inbox. But because it's so smooth and elegant and in terms of reaching everybody that follows me and is connected with me, they also can't give me the ability to migrate that stuff out either. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting catch-22 for them to be able to compete.
We'll see. I think they could do it, but I see your point.
Yep. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next story here, which is, of course, we'll just cover very quickly here about Bing. We talked a little bit about this with Paul last week on the show. Did you catch the show, by the way? Did you listen to the show?
Of course I did. Yeah. I caught it right before I went to bed.
There you go. Put you to sleep. That's what I'm good for.
It was glorious. It was glorious not having to do it, but I did miss you. So
there you go. All right. Well, we talked a little bit about this, but basically there's been a lot of things that have happened in the last week. Ars Technica, this is where we'll link to in the show notes, is reporting that Microsoft has now lobotomized the AI-powered Bing. I love that headline. And its fans aren't happy. Microsoft limits the long conversations to address concerns being raised. The article opens up by saying Microsoft's new AI-powered Bing chat service is still in private testing, but it's been in the headlines in this wild and erratic outputs. But that era has apparently come to an end. At some point during the past 2 days, Microsoft has now significantly curtailed Bing's ability to threaten its users, have existential meltdowns, or declare its love for them. If you haven't, just Google some of that stuff if you want to go. There's some classics there. During Bing Chat's first week, test users noticed that Bing, also known by its codename Sydney, began to act significantly unhinged when conversations got too long. As a result, Microsoft limited users to 50 messages per day and 5 inputs per conversation. Apparently, it's the length of the conversation that starts to let Sydney out of the box, as it were. And so that's what they did. So what do you think about this? I mean, are they just trying to keep a cap on something that can't ultimately be capped, or how does this all play out?
I mean, I think they'll get there. I think we're still at early stages, but what I'm amazed by is that we're talking about Bing. I mean, full stop. When did it get to a point where Bing was done? Like it, and now it's back in the conversation. How did Microsoft do this? This might be the greatest feat of Microsoft marketing ever, that they are back in this conversation. And Microsoft's business model is fantastic. They don't need any of this to work, and they'll be just fine. This is a total extra thing that they're creating on the side. I think the whole thing is funny. I think that them putting out a product that they don't know what it's going to do was interesting, and it was marketing, in my opinion. And this is where they're at.
you want to hear my I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, but you want to hear my sort of weird theory behind all this? I think you hit it right on the nail on the head, which is I think for Microsoft, this is totally a flyer. Like, if this works, great, and if it doesn't work, what it is, this is really a test bed for them, because the money here is not for them to try and compete with Google at search. The money here is for them, because Google's going to, by the way, Google, when they introduce Bard finally, the pendulum will swing all the way back over to Google again. Just trust me on that. That will happen. But where Bing and AI and ChatGPT really start to shine is when they integrate it into Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and Excel and all the Office suite to help you do things like write a letter.
Can you imagine?
Or, do a spreadsheet.
You go into Word and Word is your AI assistant. I mean, exactly. It's going to be unbelievable.
So that's the play here. That's
totally agree with that.
The search stuff is great, and if they compete with Google a little bit, and if it ups their market share even by 1%, they're doing lovely. But the play here is to learn, get it all out into the public, get it out there, establish themselves as a player in this place, so that when it ultimately does get integrated into the Office suite and the other enterprise tools, by the way, there are other enterprise tools, that it's a huge. It's a huge win for
That's
that.
a great take. A little side note before we go on to the next one. I didn't have access to the new Bing, so I had to go and put in my Microsoft password to get the whole thing. So I still can't get access to it. But did you realize?
Yeah.
I didn't know Microsoft had a rewards program, and apparently I have 2,300 rewards points. Probably just because I've been buying, suites for years and whatever. I can get a whole.
Can you buy like?
I think I can get enough to go on another cruise. Actually, it's like
maybe, or a Clippy plush doll.
I had no idea. This is really interesting that they had their rewards program. I wish they would talk about it more. But
there you go.
But anyways, I want to get on to Bing. I can't get on. I can't use Meta Verified because it's not available yet. I can't get onto Bing yet because I'm not on I'm on the list. I can't do any of these things. This is terrible.
Yeah. Have you paid for your OpenAI account at least, so that you've got access to ChatGPT and all the things?
No, I haven't done that. You have that. Yeah, you've been recommending.
I have. I've started
to do that. What's that called? Plus?
Whatever it is. I've been really trying to incorporate ChatGPT into my workfw, and it's coming along.
You getting it?
I'm finding it very useful. Very, very.
I talked to Mitch Joel this morning, and he was saying that it's totally changed his workflow entirely, and it's amazing, and all that stuff. So I have to.
Yeah, abstracts for webinars and descriptions of white papers and summaries. It's fantastic at that. It's just really.
I'll get
really
on
good.
it. I'll get on it. One more thing.
All right. So very quickly here, we're going to bring back one of your favorite things. We'll talk about it very quickly. And that is, of course, our segment on the Musky Scent. All right. It's been a while.
I thought we were done with that. I literally thought we were done with that. Now I've got to bring it back in production.
Yeah. Now you've got to go. Yeah. You've got to go do actually some editing work.
I know. You're making me hear my week back. I thought it'd be easy. Now I got to do 5 minutes of editing. This is terrible.
Yeah. That's tough. It's tough. All right. We're going to cover 3 stories really quickly here to make sure that we get it in. Because of course you're probably seeing this all across. The first story is from the New York Times. Twitter is going, and I've seen this personally, and I don't use Twitter very much anymore other than content consumption. Outages are on the rise. Elon Musk's repeated job cuts are stoking new fears that there aren't enough people to triage Twitter's problems. Basically, the social media service remains operational today, but outages, bugs, and other glitches are increasingly piling up. In February alone, Twitter experienced at least 4 widespread outages compared with 9 in all of 2022, according to NetBlocks that tracks such things. And basically, Twitter's reliability has deteriorated as Mr. Musk has repeatedly slashed the company's workforce. another round, and that's what we'll also link to, has cut more than 100 more people, basically bringing Twitter down to less than 2,000 employees, down from 7,500 when Mr. Musk took over in October. And one of the last ones was the product manager from Twitter Blue, of course. All of this in context with something we'll link to in the show notes from Gizmodo, which is that Jack Dorsey, of course, the former CEO of Twitter, has now launched Blue Sky into the beta test. Blue Sky, of course, being his new social media network. And it says Twitter users could have the chance to pivot to an upcoming rival social media app, Blue Sky, which launched its beta test on Apple's App Store on Tuesday. The former Twitter CEO and founder Jack Dorsey is the mastermind behind Blue Sky, which he announced would be focusing on after Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion in October. Blue Sky was originally conceptualized as decentralized social network in 2019 as an extension of Twitter, but broke off later to be its own platform. Blue Sky realized that our independence is important to the success of the project, says Mr. Dorsey. Okay, so what do you think about all this stuff? What's you had a chance to think? I'm sure you were thinking about Elon and Twitter while you were basking and drinking drinks. But
absolutely, I couldn't stop thinking about Elon. With what's going on at Twitter, all I could think of, and this is the best analogy I have. You've seen Kill Bill 1 and 2, I'm assuming, from Quentin Tarantino.
I have. I'm very interested in this metaphor. Go ahead.
It seems to me this is what Elon is doing. Elon is taking Twitter where Uma Thurman was at when she went for her training, and remember when the sensei just broke her down.
Sure. Yeah,
everything, what she learned, how she acted, everything, how she punched, how she defended herself, everything was wrong, and then basically she was nothing, and then he rebuilt her. That's what's happening here.
Oh my God! I'm with you all the way to the rebuild part. Yeah, yeah. I think
you think that he's doing the whole first part, and then what happens?
I think I think Musk is intentionally breaking things down until they break irrevocably, and then he'll know that he's gone too far. I think he needs to. He's slowly breaking everything until the whole house comes tumbling down, because at that point he knows, great, that's where the minimum. He's basically going back to minimum viable product.
Yes,
and so he can fix it up to that point. And at that point, that's the right. He's in his mind. I'm not saying this is the right thing. Trust me, but in his mind, I think he thinks that's where that's right sizing the business. In other words, swinging a bat around everywhere, cracking every skull around until things just fall apart. And once they fall apart, it's like that's the line, right? That now he knows where the line is, where he can't go past. And then he can start to rebuild from there. He's basically breaking the house down to. I agree with you. He's breaking the house down to its studs so that he can theoretically rebuild the house over time. However, it's just a question of time, right? I mean, it's like, can he? Does he have the time to do this? And will people hang around and wait for him to rebuild the house, or will they go off to something new like this Blue Sky thing? I don't think he's got the luxury of the time to be able to do this.
I agree with you on the time component, but nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Jack Dorsey can do this, but his idea is a very different one from a decentralized standpoint. There's nobody knocking on the door saying they have a replacement for what Twitter does. Nobody.
Agreed.
And how long have we been talking about this? Years. Still, nobody.
Yeah.
So maybe, and by the way, if you took that Twitter business model against what Apple's doing, Microsoft, Meta, why would you? That current business model is terrible. It doesn't work very well. You can't scale it very much anymore. So,
well, I think that's why we haven't seen any sort of real replacement.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody's going to touch it. I think they're going to give it to Elon and say, Elon, go. We'll let you take it. Jack Dorsey, this is just another pet project for him. I can't see this as important at all until we get into it. There's a user base. People start talking. You don't know. We have no idea what it's going to be.
Well, it really does speak to the larger trend of the decline of social media, full stop. one of the things I said in my newsletter this week to my little experience advisor community was talking about the idea of social media. And I think in many ways, what we're starting to see now is the attrition in the war to become a social media influencer, a creator. I think what we're starting to see now is people going, you know what? I am just a content consumer. I'm not going to try and create, I'm either going, they're going right into the, like me, they're saying, hey, I'm just going to create content for family and friends and just be done with it. And Facebook is fine for that because that's where everybody is. Or they're saying, I'm just going to consume content. I'm really not, maybe I'll create a little bit here and there on, Snapchat or something like that for friends. But really what I'm doing is I want to see what creators are doing. So that's why I'm on TikTok all day. And I think you're starting to see the fact that the idea of people chatting and communing and creating social media frenzies and all that stuff is sort of waning as an idea. And I think it's a really interesting time for social media because content discovery is becoming so big and creators are becoming so good at what they're doing. And I think there's a real divide, I guess, between content consumption and content creation. If it was 80-20 like now, like 80-20 consumption versus creation, maybe it's 98-2 now. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. I think the other thing is that I've been thinking more and more about with creators is creators can make a decision about if and how much community they want. Like we just talked about Substack. A creator might be really happy with just getting a couple hundred people, super fans, and just doing that. Just being great at that one thing and not having to build the whole community thing and get together for private calls and this, that, and the other and inside tips and being active on Twitter or whatever. So everybody's talking about, community is the next thing and you got to leverage social media this way. Maybe, but you can choose. You could say, I don't want that because community is really difficult. It is a whole step up. You might just say, I just want to do this little thing. I just want to have a good life for myself and my family. I choose this. So it's and that's what I like seeing a lot of creators saying, I'm just going to do this thing because I can do it really well and it fits within my schedule so I can live the life that I want to live and forget all the rest of the stuff. Man, get off my lawn.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, speaking of content consumption and all of those kinds of things, the last story that we'll cover before we get to rants and raves is, of course, about our friends at TikTok. And
do we have friends at TikTok? I don't think we have friends at TikTok.
Well, sort of. I don't know. We don't have any friends at ByteDance. I don't think. Time tick tick tick. That Stick song. The you know what I'm talking about, right? It's the old Stick song. Got the 4 o'clock news.
I know what you're talking about. I keep thinking time is ticking away, ticking away. Okay,
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Anyway, let's link to a couple of stories here. Basically, TikTok's time in the U.S. may be coming to an end here. The information: TikTok's U.S. survival plan faces potential hurdle. Apple's App Store rules. TikTok faces new potential hurdles to overcome national security concerns as the Apple and Google stores are taking a good look at the app. The popular video app owned by Chinese internet ByteDance has begun talks with Apple and Google to ensure its proposed data security plan doesn't get derailed by their App Store rules, according to a person with direct knowledge of the matter. Under the plan, which TikTok has proposed to the U.S. government to resolve worries about the security of U.S. user data, every update to TikTok software will be vetted and delivered by the app stores by Oracle. That trustworthy organization called Oracle. Anyway.
When did that happen?
TikTok's, yeah, exactly. Right. The red and black Death Star of Oracle. Anyway. So the other article we'll link to is from USA Today, which, of course, is the House continues to talk about this subversive data collection panel, as it's saying, GOP-led House panel advances bill to authorize Biden to ban TikTok. Dun, dun, dun. Finally happening, says Joe Pulizzi. House Republicans on Wednesday voted to advance a bill that would authorize Joe Biden to ban TikTok nationwide. The House Foreign Affairs Committee voted 24-16 along party lines to advance the Deterring America's Technology Adversaries Act, or DATA Act. See what they did there? See See what they did? Anyway, the bill introduced by Committee Chairman Michael McCall would allow Biden to enact nationwide bans on software applications that are deemed a national security threat. The Republicans have been especially critical of TikTok being owned by Beijing-based ByteDance. China not having a great couple of weeks here, but generally speaking, what do you think? What do you think about all this? I know you've been predicting this all along.
I'm predicting it's not quite going to happen yet. There's a lot of things to happen, but all we see right now is momentum. There's just momentum. We've talked about it a few episodes ago. Will there be some kind of TikTok that is not connected directly to ByteDance that is allowable? I could see something like that happen, but you've already got it banned off of any kind of government device. That's happening as we speak. And then that we talked about it as that rolls out, that affects more than you think. Because then you've got every contractor that does business with a government entity will need to take that off of their devices too. And then when that goes, you're just going to start seeing this naturally happen. I don't think this 24-16 vote is going to necessarily do anything, but keep the ball rolling until it comes to a head. I think something else will happen in the U.S.-Chinese relationship battle, if you will, or Cold War, or whatever we're going through right now, to take it to the next step, and somebody will. And then, by the way, I've been predicting it's going to happen. I really still believe it's going to happen, and I still don't know if it's a good thing it's going to happen. Because I don't like that things are banned. I think that will set a precedent for other things to happen that I don't think should happen. And then, of course, it's the apocalypse and the end of the world, and we're done. So, not to go downhill with it. But
I'm less concerned about something like this being banned than I would be about something that was U.S. based being banned. I mean, the fact that because remember, Google is banned in China. There are Facebook. There are plenty of platforms that are banned in China that are U.S. based. All of them. So this would not. I mean, this is basically a tit for tat, kind of idea. Theoretically, we're not trying to play that game. I can't imagine, because that's just a ridiculous game to play, because it shows that we're no better than they are. But to me, I mean, again, I don't care that much about TikTok particularly. I think the interesting issue about data collection and what is being used with the algorithm to shape opinion through content shaping is the more interesting thing here. And that applies to everybody. That applies to all the social media platforms, and how they have and this is being heard in the Supreme Court. I mean, one story that we didn't talk about this episode was how the Supreme Court is now hearing Section 230 cases right now as we speak, that are, and basically the Supreme Court is going, yeah, we don't know what the hell we're talking about, so we're going to let Congress figure this out. But the general tenor is, the platforms are actually making a better case than the challengers to the platform are making, right? So it's a really interesting time for us to be thinking about algorithmic, artificial intelligence driven display of content and optimization of content as it pertains to the national psyche and what we're going through from a culture standpoint. It's a really interesting time to be thinking about. I think
to wrap this up, if we think about what happened in 2016 with the election and what Russia, if you believe such things, that Russia tampered with Facebook in ways around content creation, there's no tampering involved here. TikTok can do whatever they want. So that's right. The difference. And it is the most influential platform, in my opinion, in the United States, is TikTok right now.
Yeah, that's right.
So it wouldn't take much of an algorithm change to shift which content certain people are seeing and where and how.
Of course.
And what happens.
Absolutely. So, that's right. Well, that's the whole point, right? I mean, we've talked about this but by the way, this isn't just TikTok, right? This is one of the things that we don't see a lot of, which is, and we talked about a little bit on it the 2 shows ago, where Facebook, not in the U.S. necessarily, but in other countries across the world, that is the internet for many people. And what they see in their Facebook feed, they are directly shaping the way that they perceive the world. And that algorithm optimization isn't necessarily a good thing in nations that don't have other media to counterbalance any of that. And that's the real interesting thing, because something as powerful as Facebook in that kind of country, think about it, something as powerful as TikTok in this country, and it's just there are all kinds of issues to think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, very quickly, before we get to our rants and raves sections, your empirically proven favorite part of the show, of course, we want to just encourage you to visit our wonderful little website at thisoldmarketing.site, where, of course, you can get all the wonderful show notes, you can subscribe to our newsletters, you can do all the wonderful things, including, by the way, sending us email. Thank you so much for the messages we're getting on this through the site. The voicemails, they're so much fun to get. Love getting them. So thank you for that, and do go visit it, because it's just a great, wonderful source. And of course, you can listen to any of the other 364 episodes that you want to see. All right, now it is time for our rants and raves section as we close out the show. And so this is where Go and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave that makes us feel like Cocaine Bear, or makes us feel like we're jonesing for an 8-ball. And so let's see here. The fact that I know that it's called an 8-ball should tell you all you need to know about me.
I think the listeners know. I think they already know.
They know. All right, I'm going to go first because mine's super quick. It basically, this week, the FTC, that's the Federal Trade Commission, they came out and they've basically put up a post saying that artificial intelligence, AI, they consider it a marketing term. So technology companies, computer companies, any services company basically needs to be very careful about how they start using the word AI, because if, as they say, you need to ask yourself your question if your product actually uses AI, because they're going to start using it as a claim. And if that, I mean, not that the FTC has that much teeth these days, but it's a very interesting take, I think, that they are looking at companies that are offering up quote-unquote AI-driven solutions, and they may review whether actually the solution does have AI in it. I think it's just a part of a bigger thing that you're starting to see now, which is the claims about what people can do with AI become bigger and bolder as the competition becomes thicker. And I think as a consumer of such things like software solutions, hardware, the kinds of things that we all use, both as marketers and content creators, we're going to have to just take into account, because it's going to get really thick with the bullshit in here over the next few months as this thing gets hyped up. So the FTC post is a great reminder to just have a little side eye to those solutions that are saying, oh yeah, we're AI driven, and really dig into that to really see what's going on here. So it reminds me very much of an old idea. It's called Hofstadter's Law, which, of course, the Hofstadter's Law is that everything takes longer than you expect it to take, even when you take into account Hofstadter's Law, which, of course, means when you take something into account, you know, it's going to take longer than you think, even when you think it's going to take longer than it's going to take. So that's what it's all.
Only
it's all
you
gonna,
would know that law.
Progress.
But you say Hofstadter's Law, and you say, of course, we know. Like, nobody knows. You know, and like five of our listeners know what that is. So
yeah,
I don't know how you
have it.
found that.
There you have it.
But okay. Thank you for that. My wife sent me this amazing story, and I liked it so much because it believes exactly what I believe. So that's a good story. This is a really cute site, actually. It's called AM Stories, Find Your Brand's Voice. And the article is in praise of brand newsletters. And basically, it talks about there's this huge billboard program going on for Oatly's new brand newsletter called Spam, and they've got billboards all over Times Square about this whole thing. And basically, their newsletter is a poke in the eye to current marketing trends, and they're promoting this newsletter. And I thought it was, what an interesting way to promote your newsletter with a very expensive billboard for an opt-in newsletter. I really would love to know how this performed. I don't think they can tell, because it's oatly.com/spam is what the call to action is. So they wouldn't be able to tell from the billboards. I wish they would have done that, and you'd know how much
a unique URL.
a unique URL in some way, but I don't think they did it that way. But anyways, the article goes on to then talk about what Oatly did with their newsletter and why it's an effective newsletter and why newsletters are more important than ever to build your trusted voice. A lot of the stuff that we've been talking about in this show, don't start a newsletter without a clear brand voice. Every newsletter should have a singular goal. Make clicks easy and rewarding. And I would say very, very minimal. Focus on just one or two calls to action in each one, if you can, in each newsletter. It's okay to link to sites that are not your own. And big things begin with small newsletters. And the example that was used was that Goop started as a newsletter. Now, Goop is now worth $250 million. Gwyneth Paltrow's brand.
That's right.
Started with just a newsletter. So wonderful things can start from a newsletter. Even though we're in the social media, AI, Web3 age, newsletters have never been more important than they are right now. So I'll put that in the show notes. And if anybody here needs a little bit of backing on why they should step their newsletter game up, you can use this story and send it to those powers that be.
All right.
Yeah.
I dig it. I like it.
I dig it the most.
I like it. Yeah. Can you dig it?
Yeah. You dig it the most.
Warriors reference for you there. To end the show.
Okay, so
what do you got this week? You're back.
We're just talking about, we mentioned, it's John Travolta line. Have you seen John Travolta lately with the full bald head and the goatee? Have you seen?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that look?
For sure.
You like that look?
I think it works for him. I think it's working for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than his old look.
I ran that by a few. I don't know. A lot of people don't know this. I'm balding on the top of my head, and I ran that by a few people. And my wife said that if I do that I can't come home. I thought it might be a good look for me, but she says I can't pull off what John Travolta pulls off. So, no need to comment. No need to comment. I was just adding another minute to the show.
I'm with you. I think I'm with your wife. I think I'm with your wife. You know what you should do is you should just get like a skin cap, like buy a skin cap off of Amazon and just try it and see what it looks like.
Yeah. She says I can't do the bald and the full beard, like I'd have to go to a goatee, but I've never looked good in a goatee.
No, I would agree with that. You're better in the full beard.
Yeah.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
We're grasping at straws here. There's just not much. Not much I can do. I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
It's working.
It's like Bill Burr says.
You're very handsome.
Yeah, it's like Bill Burr says. I'm a solid 5. It's like as long as you know where you stand, life is better.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, with that said, I think you're thinking about all the big things in life. What else are you doing this week?
We're doing epic content marketing promotion, and we've got 30 days till early bird ends for Creator Economy Expo. So I'm looking for a few more sponsors and a few more attendees. So we're hard at work doing the things that I never thought I would do again. How about you?
Just working. We're blessed right now with a lot of good clients. We're working hard on our consulting business and getting ready and just turned in the book.
Oh yeah, congratulations.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a ton of work. All good there. So it'll publish in September and just weird weather here in Southern California
you got
and just
snow.
Sort of enjoying life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it. Well, thank you very much to all of you out there. We will see you again next week. And just remember, until we see you, it is your story to tell. Tell it well. We'll see you next week on This Old Marketing.